Hi everyone, welcome back, thanks for joining us today. We've got another brand new story to share with you today, so let's begin. My name is Elena, and I was 17 when I realized my name didn't belong in the house I grew up in. It was Kyle's birthday. There were balloons tied to the back of every chair, frosting smudged across the fridge, and the smell of store-bought lasagna heating in the oven. I was doing dishes because no one asked me to sit. My mom was laughing at something Kyle said about his football coach. My dad was filming on his camcorder, the old one with the broken flip screen. I dried my hands, took a notepad from the junk drawer, and sat alone at the end of the kitchen table. I wrote, "Don't forget how this feels, don't forget cleaning up while they celebrate him, don't forget the way they never say your name out loud when people are watching." Then I folded the note and tucked it behind the photo of our family from 2003, the one where I'd been cropped out after the print. I didn't read that note again for 19 years, but I remembered every word. Tonight was supposed to be different, tonight was mine. I'd worked for 10 years as a trauma nurse, double shifts, night shifts, holidays, no vacations. I didn't have a husband, didn't have kids. I barely had time to keep my houseplants alive. But I had one goal: save my parents' home, and I did. Final payment cleared, deed clean, no liens, no debt, it was supposed to be over. My mom helped me hang the banner, "Congratulations, Elena," in gold letters across the fireplace. I catered the food, paid for the wine, set every place setting by hand. My dad said he was running to the store for a drill he'd been eyeing. Kyle arrived late, with Lacey on his arm and a Rolex on his wrist. "Wow," he said, surveying the room, "you really went all out, you always were the organized one." Organized, not loved, not thanked, just useful. I was about to give a short speech, something about home, about perseverance, when my dad finally showed up. No drill in hand, just a bottle of champagne and that smile he used to save for Kyle's wins. He tapped a spoon to his glass. "I have a little announcement," he said. I smiled, waiting for it, waiting for my moment. "To Elena," he said, "for organizing this beautiful party, always our dependable one." People clapped politely. I nodded, but then he continued, "The real celebration is for Kyle." The room stilled. Our boy's going viral, 10,000 followers on TikTok, and we've decided to invest in his future. We've remortgaged the house to help him launch his travel content brand. My fingers curled around the champagne glass. "Isn't it exciting?" My mom whispered, "He's going to Bali, the camera just loves him." I didn't answer because I was already calculating how many hours of blood, sleep, and missed birthdays it had taken me to give them a house. And how fast they'd handed it back to someone else. I didn't make a scene. I walked to the back hallway, took out my phone, dialed a number I had saved but hoped I'd never use. "Trevor Maynard's office," the voice said. "This is Elena Moore," I said. "Please tell Trevor it's time." "Of course, would you like him to proceed?" I glanced through the archway at Kyle, describing the Maldives like he'd earned the airfare, at my mother beaming, at my father toasting the son I'd already paid for twice. "Yes," I said, "it's time to proceed." But this wasn't the first time my family erased someone, I just didn't know it yet. I didn't go back into the party. I waited in the upstairs bathroom, sitting on the edge of the tub, counting the tiles on the floor. Like I used to when I was 15 and hiding from one of Dad's talks about why Kyle needed more room to grow. Laughter echoed through the vents. Kyle was probably showing off his promo reel, borrowed drone footage set to royalty-free music. They would eat the good shrimp. They would toast to his courage to chase dreams someone else paid for. Trevor called back 30 minutes later. "It's all still intact," he said. "The trust holds. Every mortgage payment you made went through it. The new loan, legally invalid. They can't remortgage something they no longer own." I exhaled, not relief, something colder, something like confirmation. "They'll fight it," I said. They can try, he replied, but unless you signed off, and I know you didn't, it's just paper with someone else's signature pretending to be yours. I know, I said, he's done it before. That part slipped out. Trevor paused. You mean your father? When I was 19, I applied for a student loan, got denied, said I already had a loan open under my name, but I didn't, Trevor, I didn't. Another pause. We can look into that later, he said quietly. For now, I can have the letters drafted and delivered Monday morning. Do it. When I came back downstairs, Kyle was mid-story about how Bali sunsets performed better on reels than drone shots of Iceland. He didn't see me, none of them did. That was the thing. I could walk through my own life and not leave footprints. I stood near the kitchen, watching my mother place another shrimp skewer on Kyle's plate. You need to eat more, sweetheart, you're burning so many calories traveling. She never said that to me when I was running 3 shifts back-to-back at Grady Memorial, just told me my face looked tired. Dad caught sight of me then. Everything okay? I smiled. Perfect. I left quietly. At home, I didn't turn on the lights, just sat on the couch with the papers from the trust, my name on every line, notarized, time-stamped, archived. I'd created the structure after Dad almost lost the house the first time. Back then, I stepped in, thinking, if I just do this right, they'll finally see me. Not as the backup daughter, not as the safety net, just me. The next morning, Kyle called. Why are there legal blocks on the house title? I have sponsors waiting, this is sabotage. You'll figure it out, I said. You always do, right? This isn't fair. Mom and Dad said the house was ours. It was paid off, I said, by me. A beat. You always were jealous, he said. No, I replied. I just stopped pretending your dreams matter more than my life. He hung up. By evening, Mom called, her voice softer, almost maternal. Elena, we didn't know you'd feel this way. We thought we could borrow against the house, just for a little while. You're doing well. Kyle just needs a little help to get started. You remortgaged my life, Mom, that's not fair. You're right, she said, it's not. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just looked at the folder in my lap, at the signatures they gave me years ago without reading. And I realized something. They never thought I'd use them. They thought I'd always stay the reliable one, quiet, exhausted, loyal. But even loyalty has a ledger, and mine was full. 3 days passed, I ignored every call. Trevor had the documents ready. I reviewed them between patients on my night shifts. Initials, timestamps, certified letters addressed to both my parents and to the mortgage broker. Everything airtight. On Thursday, I got a message from a name I hadn't seen in years. Melline Weller, my cousin, Aunt Cora's daughter. We were close once, before the family fractured along invisible fault lines no one ever admitted existed. Her message was simple. Saw the fallout on Kyle's Instagram. Elena, you okay? I didn't answer at first, but later that night, I typed, I'm fine. They took the house, I took it back. 3 blinking dots, then, that sounds familiar, can I call you? We talked for 2 hours, about Kyle, about Richard, about how my mother once told a neighbor I was just between things, when I'd already been working 60-hour weeks for a decade. And then Melline said, you know this isn't new, right? I thought she meant the favoritism. She didn't, she meant Rachel. Aunt Rachel? I asked, trying to recall a face. All I remembered was a name, the older sister of my mother who had gone out west and was never quite right. She was the first one they erased, Melline said. Back in the 90s, she ran Grandpa's business after he died, and when she refused to sign over control to Uncle Paul and your mom, they accused her of forging documents, said she manipulated the will. Did she? No, Melline said. She liquidated everything, gave them nothing, then disappeared. I went quiet. She sent me birthday cards for years, Melline added, but Mom told me not to reply, said she was bitter, said she'd poisoned the family on purpose. That night, I found Rachel's name in a public records database. Rachel Lynn Whitaker, former business owner, no criminal record, currently residing in Arizona. I hesitated, then I sent a message. She replied 5 hours later, "I was wondering when one of you would call." We set up a video chat. She looked exactly like my mother, only older and sharper, the way a blade looks after you've stopped pretending it's ornamental. Her hair was silver, her smile was small but real. "I heard about the house," she said. "I heard about you," I replied. Rachel leaned forward. "Let me guess, you gave everything. They took it, now you're the villain." I didn't respond. She nodded. "They don't hate disobedience, Elena. They hate memory. You're not just inconvenient, you're the evidence." We talked for an hour. She told me about her father's will, the business, how she'd spent years fixing what the men had broken, only to be told she was ungrateful. "They wanted a face for their legacy," she said, "not hands that built it." At the end of the call, she said, "You'll win, but they'll say you destroyed them." I don't want to destroy anyone. That's what I said, too. The next morning, Trevor called. His tone was clipped. "I've been reviewing the mortgage application, Elena. Your father forged your signature." Silence stretched between us. "He used a digital scan, it's clear, and that, combined with the trust, makes the new mortgage legally invalid and possibly fraudulent." "What happens now?" "If the bank pursues it, they'll treat it as mortgage fraud. That's federal." I rubbed my temples. "They won't come after you," he added, "but they might come after him." I opened my drawer. Inside, the folder. Trust documents, deed transfer records, payment ledgers, my name on every one. For years, I kept receipts because I didn't trust their memory. Now, those receipts were the only truth left. And the woman they thought they'd erased, she remembered everything. I arrived at the house just before sunset, same blue siding, same cracked walkway, the grass hadn't been cut. A plastic flamingo from Kyle's 5th birthday still leaned sideways near the porch, sun faded and forgotten. I used the old key, it still fit. They were all waiting inside. My father stood near the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. My mother sat on the edge of the couch, hands clenched in her lap. Kyle was sprawled on the armrest, Lacey curled beside him, like this was some kind of intervention, not a reckoning. "You didn't have to come like this," my mother began. "I came with documents," I said. I set the folder on the coffee table. It made a solid sound, the kind that told you it wasn't a bluff. "These are the trust papers you both signed," I said. "Every payment record, every repair, every tax receipt. The house was never yours to mortgage." My father didn't move. "You tricked us," he said finally. "No," I said evenly. "I protected myself. You didn't ask what the paper said, you just signed." "That's because we trusted you," my mother said. "No," I said again. "You depended on me. That's not the same thing." Kyle scoffed. "So what now? You're kicking your own parents out on the street." "No," I said. "I'm giving you 30 days, that's more than you gave me when you signed my name to a loan." My father's eyes narrowed. "You're overreacting." I reached into the folder again and pulled out the legal notice from the bank, stamped, certified, undeniable. "I'm not overreacting," I said, "I'm just finished." Then Kyle stood. "Actually," he said, digging into his backpack, "you're not the only one with receipts." He tossed another folder onto the table. "I found these in the attic last week. Mortgage papers, student loan records, credit lines I never opened, all with Dad's handwriting." My father's face went pale. "You little..." "Don't," Kyle snapped. "I let you wreck enough." No one spoke for a long time, just the hum of the fridge and the tick of the wall clock Dad never fixed. Then, a knock at the door. "Rachel." She stepped inside without waiting for permission. She looked at me first, one sharp nod, then at Joanne. "It's been a long time," she said. My mother's voice was thin. "You shouldn't be here." I shouldn't have had to come, Rachel replied. She sat beside me. I took out the final envelope, the release forms, one for each of them. A clean exit, no contest, no headlines, just silence and surrender. If you sign these, I said, you walk away. No one files charges. The house gets sold quietly. You keep your names. And if we don't? My father asked. Rachel spoke before I could. Then your daughter sends everything to the bank, the notary, the IRS, she presses charges, and you lose a lot more than the house. Joanne picked up the pen first, her hand trembled. I never wanted it to be like this, she whispered. It was like this the moment you looked at my sacrifice and saw a loophole, I said. Kyle signed next, then Lacey, without a word. My father was last. He looked at the paper, then at me. You think you've won? No, I said. I think I've stopped losing. He signed. I gathered the forms, slipped them back into my folder, stood. You have 30 days. After that, I changed the locks. As I reached the door, my mother stood. You're just like her, she said. I turned back. Rachel? She continued, voice bitter, vindictive, alone. Rachel didn't flinch, and neither did I. I'd rather be alone and honest, I said, than surrounded and erased. Outside, the air smelled like summer heat and lawn fertilizer. The sky was streaked orange. For the first time in years, the house behind me didn't feel like something I had to protect. It felt like something I'd finally outgrown. And inside, for the first time, they were the ones looking small. The silence came first. No more calls, no more texts, just a stillness that settled over everything like dust in a room no one dared enter. I thought it would feel like peace. It didn't. It felt like fallout. 3 days after they signed the documents, a courier arrived at my door with a small cardboard box. No note, no return address, just a package with my name in my mother's handwriting. Inside was an old photo album, brown leather, worn at the edges, the kind she used to keep under the coffee table, full of Kyle's soccer games and birthdays. But this one was different. It wasn't for show. The first photo was of me, not smiling, not posed, just me painting the back fence when I was 22, a loose ponytail, sunburnt arms, no one else in the frame. The next, me installing storm windows, me fixing the dishwasher, me carrying groceries, me in scrubs, asleep on the couch with my badge still clipped to my chest. Years of my life, caught quietly on film. She'd seen it, all of it, and never said a word. I closed the album, not angry, not grateful, just tired. I called Trevor that afternoon. List the house, I said, let's get it done. He didn't ask questions, neither did the realtor. The listing went live the following week. I chose a modest asking price, enough to close the mortgage quietly, cover the transfer fees, and be done. Kyle had vanished by then. Lacey posted a cryptic message online. Sometimes people show you who they are. Believe them. Then she blocked everyone. Meline texted me. Kyle used mom and dad's emergency credit card to buy one-way tickets to Bali. Now they're frozen. He's off-grid. I didn't reply. The night before the realtor's walkthrough, I went back to the house one last time. No furniture, no voices, just empty rooms and the faint outline of where the rug used to sit in the living room. I walked through it all, kitchen, hallway, back deck, then upstairs to my old bedroom. The air still smelled like the lavender sachets I used to hang in the closet. The wall had a faint square where my bookshelf had been. I ran my hand across the molding, then opened the top drawer of the nightstand. Still there, the original note, folded, yellowing, quiet. Don't forget how this feels. I didn't, but I finally folded it one more time, slid it into my coat pocket, and walked out. No drama, no confrontation, no apology, just me, the last one to leave, and the only one who cleaned up. We ate dinner at the same table they used to sit me beside but never quite at. This time, it was mine. The house was nearly empty, no photos on the walls, no voices echoing up the stairs. Just the long pine table I'd refinished myself when I was 23 and couldn't afford a new one. The chairs still creaked the same. Rachel sat across from me, her hair pulled back, her posture perfectly straight. Next to her, Melline poured wine into 3 mismatched glasses we'd pulled from the half-packed kitchen. "You sure about this?" Melline asked. "About selling?" I nodded. "This house has taken enough from me. Let someone else decide what it means." Rachel tilted her head slightly, not judging, just observing, like she always did. We ate pasta I made from scratch, no speeches, no music, just quiet forks and the smell of garlic and something close to closure. After we cleared the plates, I reached into my coat pocket and unfolded the paper I'd carried all week. My own handwriting, smudged in the corner. "Don't forget how this feels." Rachel leaned in. "You wrote that?" "When I was 17, on Kyle's birthday, they'd forgotten mine the week before." Melline looked down. "I used to write letters to myself, too. I never had the guts to read them." "I didn't either," I said, "until now." I folded it again, laid it on the table like a final place setting. "I didn't want revenge," I said quietly. "I wanted to be seen." Rachel touched the edge of the note. "They never see us when we're carrying everything, only when we finally drop it." The doorbell rang, the realtor, right on time. She walked us through the final paperwork, inspection dates, closing timeline, key returns. When we stepped onto the porch, the late spring air felt too clean to belong to this house. Across the lawn, a "for sale" sign had already been hammered in. I looked at it for a long time, not with sadness, not with pride, just stillness. "I thought it would feel bigger," I said. "It never does," Rachel replied, just honest. We stood there, 3 women who'd all been edited out of someone else's story. Inside, the house waited for its next chapter. Rachel reached into her coat pocket and handed me a postcard, "Sunset in Arizona." "From when I left," she said. "I didn't send it, didn't think anyone would keep it." I turned it over, blank. "Write something now," she said, "even if it's just for you." I nodded. Behind me, the kitchen light blinked once, then stilled. I stepped off the porch, onto the walkway I'd once shoveled every winter while Kyle slept in. I didn't look back, because the house had already told me everything I needed to know. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that set you free.